everybody, and welcome to another MB Zoomer special. Today we're going to be talking about fork upgrades which are compatible with the Sur-Ron e-bike. So, as you may have seen in my most recent video, I had a pretty nasty crash, and unfortunately my fork is totally destroyed. So here's a picture of my own personal fork that I had a direct impact with the curb right on the support here, is the best way I can understand it. And you may notice I've got a crack here, and that crack actually goes all the way through the support brace. And then the other side is also cracked, not quite all the way through, but that has put my fork out of alignment, and now when I'm pointing my handlebars straight, my front wheel is not pointed straight. So I pretty much have no other option besides getting a new fork, which is why I've done all this research and I'm here to present it to you. So before we get into the current options that are out there, I want to talk about the sort of straightforward fork requirements that you're going to need for the Sur-Ron. There's a handful of preferred forks for the Sur-Ron that most people tend to gravitate towards. However, there's a good chance that if you want to go looking around and you want to do the trial and error, you could probably find some forks that are going to be compatible with it that are not on this list and not on any other list for that matter. So the main thing is you're going to need a dual crown fork. That is basically dual crown is these supports here. You need two of them. That means dual. Another thing is 1 1/8 inch steerer tube. That's just what the Sur-Ron headset is compatible with, so you're certainly going to need a steerer tube of those dimensions. Another thing is 36 millimeter stanchions minimum. So the stock forks on the Sur-Ron are 36 millimeters. However, if you're in the market to upgrade, I would highly recommend upgrading to 40 millimeter forks, since these are going to be a lot more robust, and in my opinion, it's a little bit better suited to support the weight of the bike, since we're talking about mountain bike forks here. The Sur-Ron takes exclusively mountain bike forks, so you can't go using, a motorcycle fork on it at all. And I think that 36 millimeters is a little bit insufficient, and I think many would agree with me on that. And then another thing, if you're looking to upgrade, is a 27.5 inch wheel. Your actual wheel on the Sur-Ron isn't going to be 27.5 inches. Those are the specs for mountain bike wheels. However, if you do get a 27.5 inch fork for your Sur-Ron, that's going to open the window to a 21 inch front wheel upgrade, and that can really make a big difference if you're planning on riding off-road frequently. So this chart on the right here is the forks for the RST Kilofork, or the specs for the RST Kilofork that comes stock on the bike. So if you follow these specs, you should be able to pretty much get any fork that fits within these specs. However, I'm not telling you that the fork will work if it, satisfies everything here, because there may be some unanticipated issues, which is why if you just want a plug and play option, then stick with some of the forks that I'm recommending in this video. So first off, we have the RST Kilofork. It's the stock on the Sur-Ron on the 2020 model forward. It's an okay fork. Most people say it's insufficient. Most people bottom it out. So it's usually recommended that you upgrade at some point. However, this is not a cheap upgrade. So the RST Kilofork, you can usually get it new for about $500. Not too bad. However, you're going to have 36 millimeter stanchions on here, which, as I said previously, are a little bit insufficient for the weight of the Sur-Ron. The next stock fork is the D&M Volcano. This is an inverted fork that came stock with the older model Sur-Rons, I believe 2020 and before. And this fork suffers from some of the same issues that the RST Killa does. It's just not really sufficient for the weight of the bike. However, this is an inverted fork, so instead of having your stanchions on top going down, you have your stanchions on the bottom going up. I personally don't like this design so much because your stanchions are exposed to a lot more mud and dirt since they're closer to the wheel, so it may get your hydraulic fluid dirtier in there faster, but they are upside down, so that might prevent some dirt from getting in. And these have 35 millimeter stanchions, even smaller than the RST Killa. However, with an inverted fork, that kind of changes the dynamics of things a little bit, so maybe 35 millimeter stanchions on an inverted fork is sufficient. So onto the first upgraded fork. I'm going to butcher this, the Manitou Dorado. This is another inverted fork. It seems like a lot of people who use this fork like it. But like I said, I'm not crazy about the inverted design, so buy at your own risk. But I think, honestly, if you get this fork, it's going to perform very well compared to the stock Sur-Ron fork, so you'd probably be happy with it. It's got 37 millimeter stanchions as well, so that's going to provide a little bit more support. Again, inverted forks work a little bit differently. It's not as essential to have the large stanchions as it is on the regular forks. Now onto the DVO forks. So we got two forks that are compatible with the Sur-Ron from DVO. One of those is the Emerald, shown here. As you can see, that's another inverted fork. It gives you a little bit better picture of how it works here with the stanchions going up. However, the DVO Emerald is currently discontinued, so you're probably going to have a hard time finding it new. You may be able to find one used, but not really recommended since it's sort of going out of style. Your other option is the DVO Onyx. I've heard this is a decent fork option. However, both of these have 36 millimeter stanchions, and both these forks run about $1,300. So if you're going to spend that much on a fork, I would really, I think you should be getting 40 millimeter stanchions personally. So the Fox 40 is known as the Corvette of forks. It's very high end, very high performance, but that also comes with a very high price tag. So you can expect to spend usually about $1,800 on a new Fox 40 fork. However, this fork does have 40 millimeter stanchions. That's going to provide you plenty of support on the bike. And these are oftentimes a little bit easier to find since they're so expensive. Less people are interested in buying them. It's a good option if you have the money, but if you're getting a Fox 40, you're basically spending half the price of the Sur-Ron on a front suspension upgrade. So if you have the funds, by all means, I highly recommend Fox 40. However, this isn't so interesting to me since I don't have $1,800 to spend on a fork right now. So on to the star of the show, the Marzocchi Bomber 58. This is my personal favorite. The Marzocchi Bomber 58 is the one on the left here. This is the Marzocchi Z1, which I only included so you can get a good idea of a single stanchion or a single crown fork, and B, see the black color that this Bomber 58 also comes in. So the Marzocchi Bomber has several advantages over the other forks I've shown. First off, it's got 40 millimeter stanchions, which is going to provide you plenty of support on the bike. I've seen some people on forums saying that they bottomed this fork out. However, they're probably doing some crazy off-road riding like jumps and stuff, and in that case, they'd probably end up bottoming out the Fox 40 as well. The big advantage of the Marzocchi Bomber 58 is that the Fox company bought Marzocchi a few years back, and they use a lot of Fox parts in the Bomber 58, and you sort of have that Fox guarantee of quality. They do use higher end parts in the Fox 40 fork. However, with this fork, you're going to get most of the performance with half of the price. So Usually you'll find the Marzocchi Bomber 58 around $1,000, which is pretty reasonable. But that gets me on to the next slide here. Um, Bomber 58 supply chain issues. So, as you saw at the beginning, I destroyed my RST fork, and so I'm now in the market for a new fork. I've chosen the Marzocchi Bomber 58 as my fork of choice. However, I've had a very hard time finding it, and this is in part due to small production of this fork, and in part due to worldwide supply chain issues that we just can't really get around. So this screenshot here is from the Marzocchi website directly. Um, they're saying early February on both colorways. I'm seeing on Jensen USA that they are expecting to have the red color in late December and the black in mid-January. So they may have it sooner. My local bike shop told me they would probably have one in January. So there's going to be a little bit of a wait, and that's where I'm stuck right now. Is I'm waiting on somebody to have this fork in stock so that I can fix my bike. If you're shopping for a Bomber 58 fork, you're going to come across several listings that do say it's in stock, especially this Bike Gears listing. So they're claiming they'll sell it to you for $770, and it's in stock now, ships from Hong Kong. So at least they're upfront about shipping from Hong Kong, which in fact is not part of China, by the way. However, I did some research on this bikegears.com website, and I saw some people who had ordered some mountain bike parts, and they said that they never received their mountain bike parts whatsoever. They opened a dispute with PayPal and got their money refunded. So I would imagine that there is several open disputes with Bike Gears on PayPal, and it's just a sketchy website, right? They're the only ones who have it in stock, and it's significantly cheaper than all of the other options from reputable vendors. So that makes me think Bike Gears is a scam for sure. So I would not recommend ordering from them. Maybe you'll save $230, but you're probably not going to get your fork at the end of the day. Another website I'd like to talk about is Bike Bling. So I'll say this now: Bike Bling is not a scam. If you look up their company, they have very poor reviews across the board, but this mostly seems to be due to lacking customer service. So if you have any issues with your order, chances are Bike Bling is not going to pick up the phone. They're going to ignore you. Another thing that I didn't really like about their website is they're very subtle with saying that the Bomber 58 fork is out of stock. They don't even say it's out of stock. They just say pre-order now in the fine print. So they'll let you pay for the fork. They'll let you go through all the motions. But at the end of the day, you're probably going to have to wait just as long as if you ordered directly from Marzocchi or from Jensen. So do not recommend Bike Bling. You're probably going to have a bad time if you choose to order with them. As far as good vendors go, Jensen USA is a very reputable vendor. I actually just got off the phone with one of their customer support people about the availability for this fork. They're just having a hard time getting a hold of them from the Marzocchi warehouse, so I can understand they're in a tough spot, but they're upfront about being out of stock. You can reserve a spot for a fork if you're interested in getting one, but you're going to have to wait at least a month most likely. Another good vendor is buying directly from Marzocchi. However, as you saw previously, they're saying availability is most likely going to be early February, so you might have to wait a little bit longer for that. Besides those two, I would recommend you can look at Blue Sky Cycling. They are actually the only website I've found that has the Bomber 58 in stock right now. However, they're charging significantly higher than MSRP for the fork. They're charging about $1,300 right now, which I don't think you can fault them for, since they're the only ones who have it in stock. So I think they are kind of in a position to charge a little bit more just due to the scarcity of it. So moving forward, obviously I have a fork replacement video coming up since my bike is unrideable until I can get a new fork and replace it. So I'm going to do a video on how to do that fork replacement. With that video, I'm going to include a headset replacement because the headset is the bearings up here where the fork connects to the bike. They're going to be crucial to how your fork performs, and to salvage the old headset off of the stock fork, you need a very special tool to pull the bearings off. And if you don't have that tool, you basically have to pry the bearings off and destroy them in the process. So it's typically recommended that you just get a new headset. I'm planning on ordering the Luna upgraded Sur-Ron pin bearing headset. I've heard good things about this headset, so that's what I'm going to go with. But if you're doing a fork replacement and you don't have the special bearing removal tool, then you're going to need to order a new headset. And you honestly might as well just get a nice new headset for your nice new fork. That's my thinking. Another thing that this fork upgrade is going to open up is a 21-inch front wheel swap. So this has been something I've been wanting to do for a while, but there's very, very limited options for a 21-inch front wheel on the RST Killa fork that comes stock with the bike. And that's because you just don't have very much clearance between the support bracket and the rest of the fork. So it pretty much limits you to a couple trials tires that have very poor traction. So most people recommend, if you're going to upgrade to a 21-inch front wheel, you first upgrade your fork. Another thing I intend to do at the same time that I upgrade the front wheel size is the rear progressive suspension link. So that's this part here on the bike. You can get a slightly elongated version, aftermarket version, and that will lift the back of the bike up. You can just go 0.75 inches or 1.5 inch lift. And just a heads up, our riding videos will be put on pause for the immediate future since, as I've said multiple times, my bike is currently unrideable, so we're going to be focusing on repair videos until that point. So I'd like to say thank you to everybody for watching. I really appreciate your continued support, and if you enjoyed my video, please leave a like. If you did not enjoy it, then please dislike it twice just to get your point across. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel, and while you're at it, go ahead and comment as many times as you possibly can. Bring the bots out. Please spam that comment section. Thank you, everybody, and I hope you have a phenomenal rest of your day.